What I wanted to do today is keep going along this path. And it's not to say that we're at the end of the path, what we're talking about today. How do we know if we've finished a painting? How do we know if a painting is okay to basically say it's finished? How do we know if there's still stuff to be done? And if so, what stuff needs to be corrected? So this ending a painting story is very vast and actually involves a lot more knowledge aspects than what I can give today. So again, just like what I've been doing the last 4 days, it has been just trying to identify one problem, give you a solution with an exercise that you can work on to help you unblock this issue, if this is one of the issues that actually troubles you with your painting. And it's not to say that this is the only solution, but I'm giving you one solution, and one solution which I think is helpful. And so today, that's what I'm going to do. So I thought that I'd sort of expand that subject of how do I finish a painting, because it's not just the end of the painting. There's a lack of analysis that goes on in paintings. And so what I want to do, I'm going to tell you another story. And this other story, I think maybe will help you see things a little bit differently. So let's imagine that we're cooking Christmas dinner. Let's imagine that we're in the kitchen and we're creating a Christmas dinner for 20, 30 people that are coming over. It's the family. There's pressure. There's quantities of food. And you're in the kitchen and you're trying to handle everything. Sounds familiar? All right. So imagine that's what's happening. You've got your potatoes cooking over there. You've got the roast in the oven. You've got some vegetable dishes over here. Maybe you've already got a beginning of an entree or the beginning of a dessert underway. Now, what happens in paintings is that this is what we were talking about yesterday. Some people were saying, okay, so the problem that I have is that when I'm in the movement, when I'm in the flow of my painting, but I don't know when to stop. And I don't know, and I have a tendency to paint too long, and then I go back into my paintings. And this is where it's not a technical problem, it's not an observation problem. It becomes a time problem. It becomes a problem that we're actually so absorbed in what we're doing that we forget that we've got the potatoes cooking, we've got the cake in the oven, we've forgotten that there's different stuff happening, and we've just tuned off and we're painting. So what happens in the kitchen? Let's go back to this analogy. Okay, so imagine that you pay no attention. You've just put your potatoes on, you've thrown the beef in the oven, you've got roast beef happening, you've got other stuff happening, and you don't test to see if the potatoes have enough salt in them. You don't test that there's enough juice in the roast and so it begins to dehydrate. You don't test and if there's enough fluid or sauce in the vegetables and they start to burn and stick to the bottom of the pot. You don't check what you're doing because you're caught up in the moment and you're focusing on the flow. I'm doing this, then I'm doing that, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing that, and I'm not looking what's happening over here because I'm in my momentum. I'm in the flow. And so that's what happens in paintings, that we don't realize that you have to constantly look, observe, check that everything's happening okay. You don't just keep painting and painting and painting and painting without stepping back and saying, should I add something here? Is my focal point standing out enough? Is this becoming distracting? Do I need to do something else? Is it finished? Maybe it's even finished. We don't step back enough. So we're just basically doing stuff one thing at a time. I'm painting the house, then I'm painting a tree, then I'm now painting this bit here, and we're not looking at what's happening in the rest of the painting. We've lost the full vision of the entire painting, and we're just painting sections. And then we have this thing that maybe you can identify with this as well. There's a problem with momentum. That's why I say it's a time issue. There's a momentum problem. And it's not a problem, it's a distraction. And the momentum problem is that we start sort of a bit uncomfortable. You're kind of like, that's not the color that I want. You're not quite getting your dosing right. And then all of a sudden, as we start to paint, we get into the painting and we get into the flow. We get a momentum behind us. And it's happening. And that's where we have the most fun. It's actually in the momentum bit because we're carried by the passion and the momentum that's carrying us off. And so we forget when to stop. We forget to even check the painting because we're in the flow and we're having fun, which is great. But imagine that you're driving on the freeway. You're in your car, you're driving on the freeway, and you're sitting here and you're in the momentum of driving. And I'm in my momentum, and it's a lovely day. You know, people, they drive like this and they're having a lovely time and they're looking out the window because they're in the flow and it's great. But what if you were supposed to exit the motorway? Oh, missed the stop. Wasn't paying attention. What if something else happened? What if you're in the city and you have to look for a car park? You have to do something. You're driving, but you're being hyper attentive to what you're doing. You're still driving, you're still controlling what you're doing, but now you have to be attentive because stuff is happening. I can't just be in my flow. Stuff is happening. The color's drying over there. I need to check this value with this one. Someone's crossing the road. I need to be careful. There's a red light. Do you see the difference? One, we're caught up with the flow and we're just, in our own little world. And I forgot, where am I? Gosh, there are even people, you may have had this, where sometimes you're driving and an hour's gone and you don't even realize that you've been driving because you've been maybe dreaming, maybe off in your own little world. Happens to everybody, but it's because maybe there's nothing happening and we're caught up in the momentum. But have you ever run a race? Have you ever had to stop your car fast, like urgently? When you have pace behind you and action behind you, which is what momentum is, it creates that velocity of action that just keeps going. Even when you want to stop, you can't stop because you've got that action and that energy behind that keeps you going. It's hard to stop when you're in full flow. You may not want to stop when you're in the middle of the painting. You may not want to stop. You may say, yeah, I know I should stop here, but I just want to do this. And I just want to do that. It's hard to stop momentum because we're in it. It carries us. When you're running and you're running full and you want to stop, you can't just stop. You have to keep taking steps. You can't just stop. And so sometimes, this is what I want to do today. Sometimes we need somebody or something to remind us to stop. And in a painting, remember these last 5 days now, I was explaining that we have this little trio of knowledge, capacity, experience, all the stuff we know. And then an artist also has, so that's really important, then an artist also has their confidence. I dare to do this. I'm okay to progress. I don't care if I ruin a painting. I'm going to learn something new. And then you have the third facet, which is your creativity. Now, you cannot try to fix and improve all three of these at once. Okay, every problem, it doesn't matter if it's in painting or not. The best way this is the way I do it. If ever I have a problem, I will just say, okay, so that's the problem. So what's the solution? So we don't, I ruined my painting and dwell on it. We don't say, that's it, I'm never painting again, or that I'm useless. You don't need to be dramatic about it. You don't need to be emotional about it. You just say, okay, that one was a mess. And so what happens is that as soon as we find a problem, it doesn't matter what it is. My colors are too opaque. It could be my tonal values are not good. It could be that my technique is crummy. It could be that I don't know when to stop my paintings and I keep overworking them. As soon as you can identify that any problem is annoying you, you try to find the corresponding solution, because there always is one. It's a game. It's not a problem. It's a game. And if you can focus on it as if it's a game, every time you have a problem, because these aren't real problems, these are just little painting things. So when you have an issue in your painting, it's not emotional. It's not a drama. It's not a disaster. It's just like, brilliant. Now, this problem, my game is to find what can I do to create a solution to eliminate that problem. And when I've eliminated that problem, that's one problem less, I've progressed. And you know what? There's going to be another problem. And so there's another occasion to find another solution, and that's going to help you progress. So every problem is actually the trigger of you progressing, unless you don't look for the solution and you just keep repeating the problem, or you get yourself so wound up and upset about it that you just stick your brushes in the drawer and go and do something else because you get so frustrated about it. But in both of those cases, you don't progress. If you look at a problem as the trigger of you progressing, I think your outlook's going to be very different. And I know one of the factors that many people have, and I see it, is not just, how do I know when to stop my painting? How do I know how to finish a painting? We could go further, because most people, and I'll tell you this is from my experience of seeing thousands of paintings pretty much every month. And I see that most people don't finish a painting. They just stop a painting, meaning they just get to the end of a process and they stop. So what's the difference between stopping a painting and finishing a painting? I think that finishing a painting, you go further, you go into that space where you do stand back and you say, okay, is everything working as best as it can in this painting? Is there something that I need to do? Is there something that I can do to improve it? Are there things that need to be modified? I'm checking my painting, if you like. And when you check your painting, and then you start to, okay, I need a little bit, it's like tweaking it. I need a little bit more contrast here. I want to lose the contrast there. I want this to come forward. I want that to go back. I want more contrast there. I want the eye to go that way. That's finishing a painting. Finishing a painting is not just, I've done this, I've done that, and now I don't know what to do. So it's done. And I can tell you the majority of the paintings that I judge are paintings that have been stopped. They've gotten to the end of their cycle and the artist has stopped. And the number of things that hang around in a painting that shouldn't shows me that that last finishing step is perhaps not really something that people are looking at, are able to see, maybe, are able to understand what to do. Or perhaps, I got a hair in my eye. It's constantly in my eye. Or perhaps it's just that they don't care. For them, they've gone to the end of the process. Okay, that's done. Push that painting to the side. And now I'm going to do a new one. And when we paint like that, but what happens? That's when all the stuff stays in the painting. And so we need to know not just what to do at the end of the painting, but check your painting in the middle. And I know it's hard because we have the velocity. We have that velocity behind us, that momentum. That means we're in the flow. We don't want to stop. We have that cooking problem where this is happening and that's happening and this is happening and everything's happening at once. So you've got to handle several things. And you can't just focus on the vegetables which are cooking because the potatoes are going to burn. So you have to have this overall vision of many things happening. Even if you're painting over here, you should be looking at everything else that's going on. And how does what I've just done fit into the big picture? Too dark, too light, too strong, not strong enough. You're constantly checking what you're doing throughout the process. And then again, definitely towards the end. And I can't remember who said it. If anybody knows, write it in the chat if anyone can remember. Or look it up on the internet if you feel like it. But I can't remember. I have I have John Singer Sargent in mind, but I also have Turner in mind. I would be surprised if it's Turner. But anyway, the comment was something like, it takes two people to paint a painting. I know many people have repeated this, but there was someone further back that said it. And that further back comment came from the fact that there needs to be one person who sits there basically and paints. They're the one in the emotion, in the action. And then obviously there's the other one behind saying, too dark, too light, too strong, too visible, go back there, do this, stop. So you need, because there isn't someone else behind, you need to play both roles. You can't just get stuck in the flow of a painting, because remember, there's those three elements. There's the observational side, the technical side, the analytical side, the side that I know what I'm doing. I've got a whole heap of experience behind me, that side. But there's also the I'm in the flow. I'm using my confidence and my creativity to paint. And your brain can't be in both places at once. You literally need to stop and switch. You can't be painting freely and emotionally in the moment, spontaneously, and then be analytical at exactly the same time. You need to step back and also to see the entire painting. So, one suggestion that I will make for this, because this isn't a painting problem, so I can't really give you a painting example, so I figured we'd just do a little painting this afternoon. So what I thought is that the best, easiest, simplest method that I can think of that could help you is to use your telephone. Everybody's got a telephone today. So I would say, if you're doing like a sketch and you're really not good at stopping and taking a step back, put the alarm on. Put the alarm on at 1 minute, or if it's something bigger, at 2 minutes. Put an alarm on and make sure that alarm rings every minute, or every 2 minutes, or every 5 minutes, whatever you decide is the best pace for you. It is better shorter than longer. Don't do 5 minutes. I think particularly it's going to be too long. But if it's a bigger painting, okay. But if it's something more of a sketch to practice, to exercise, 1 minute, 2 minutes. And make sure that keeps auto repeating. And what I would say to you is, I would say, you're painting, all right? So you're here and you're in your flow. You've got your telephone next to you. Your telephone is going to ring. It's going to be on. So you don't pay any attention. You don't need to look at it to say, oh, there's only 30 seconds left, I have to hurry. You don't pay any attention to it. It should actually be further away so you can't see it. And you paint, and then it's going to ring. And you put your brush down, put it down, and you step back. You need to step back 2 or 3 steps. You need to step back. And you sit there and you look at your painting. It's in the middle. Maybe it's dripping. Maybe there's a watermark happening. It doesn't matter. Ignore it. The goal here is, this is an exercise. It's a training to make you stop sooner. It's a training to make you think that you need to stop whilst you're painting. And it's a training to make you stand back and stay there, and to put your brush down. Because a lot of people, what they do is they go, okay, oh, dark, yep. Okay, that, yep, doesn't work. You literally have to stop. And then I want you to train your eyes and your mind to become more analytical for what you have on the paper. So don't look at the model, don't look at the photo. It's just your painting that you're looking at. Nobody is going to see your painting and the reference photo at the same time. So you do not need to make sure that your painting resembles the reference photo. It doesn't need to. No one's going to see it. So you're just looking that what's happening in your painting is working. And you should be doing this all throughout the painting process, not just at the end. And what you do is you stand back and you say, okay, I'm going to give you some phrases or some questions that you can ask yourself, okay? All right. Is my focal point standing out enough? Yes or no? Okay. It's okay. Is there another area of the painting which is distracting away from the attention of my focal point? Yes or no? Yeah, that tree over there is too dark. Okay, I need to reduce that. Um, is my painting looking flat? Am I feeling like there's light and there's distance and volume in my painting? No. All right, I have to check my tonal values. That means there's a tonal value problem. Okay, this red over there probably could have a red over there. And you know what you do? You check a few things like that, then you pick up your brush and then you go back and paint. But you don't just check one problem and then try and fix that one problem, because then you're not staying long enough and developing a longer analytical capacity. So maybe what would even be more beneficial is that you do put that alarm on for 1 minute and you paint for 1 minute, you put your brush down, you step back, and you say to yourself, I can't go back and paint until my alarm rings again. I have to stand and look at my painting for a whole minute to see what's happening. Doesn't matter if it dries, doesn't matter, it's an exercise. And then when it rings again, you pick up your brush and you do all those things that you just saw that you needed to do. And by the time you've done that, you know what? It's probably going to ring again. So you put your brush down, you go back and you have a look again. If there's anything that's frustrating you, anything that you find is not working, and this is not easy because you can put your brush down. Sometimes, I just want to keep painting. I just have to do this. Try and not fall into that trap. That's something that we all do. I'll just do this. Try not to do that. You have to force yourself to do it. An alarm is good. But the other problem is that, I don't know. I don't know if it works or not. Or I can see it doesn't work, but I don't know what to do about it. That's a bigger issue. And I'm not going to go into that one right now because that's a bigger thing and there's layers to it. So that I am developing on the Mondays in our lives. But this bit, I just want to get us used to the fact that we need to step back more often. We need to be the person painting, be the observer. Be the person painting, be the observer. And spend time during the painting where you just stand and look. You do not need to paint 100% of the time that you're in front of a painting. You should be looking at it pretty much just as much time as you're actually painting it to know what to do or what not to do. All right. So that process is not a painting process because the problem is not the painting. It's you that keeps overworking it. It's you that's not looking at it. It's a problem in our own behavior, because it's our behavior where I just want to go back and do this. I just want to do this. I don't know, but I'm just going to keep painting because I'm in the movement and I'm not going to watch everything else that's going on. I'm just going to keep painting and painting and painting until I think, oh, I think I've overpainted my painting. So it's not actually a painting problem. The exercise, however, is definitely worth you doing it. So like all the others that I've suggested to you to do, I would suggest that you do that. So what I thought that we'd do today to try and mix that information into something, a sketch, a little painting of something else, I thought, but then why don't we, on our 5th day, why don't we try to do a little painting, taking bits of the information that I've given you over the 5 days, combine it all and include these little periods where we stop and look at our painting, and I'll walk you through how I do it, knowing that this is just a small painting, and obviously if it's a longer painting, then maybe, the time is different. Time is different. So for anybody who feels like painting, if you don't have your brushes with you, but you have them not far away and you want to grab stuff, then go and get it. And in the meantime, I will take us to my sheet and I'll figure out what we're going to paint today. But I think we're going to do a little street scene, something very simple, but something fun. So here we go. So now that I've just said we're doing a street scene, I kind of think I'm going to turn it this way. And I will use, because I saw yesterday the lighting, there's always an issue with lighting with the drawing. The drawing is often hard to see, so I'll use a pen, but I do not use a pen in my painting. So this is just for the purpose of the camera, just because I think it's easier to see. So let's move that over. That way I can move my palette over, and you can see just a little bit more. And here we go. So I'm going to walk you through a way that I paint. It's not necessarily the way I paint every painting, but I actually talk to myself a lot. I talk to myself, I walk myself through the idea, I go through every single little thing that I can think of, just to get myself in the mood of painting and to get my idea clear. So what I think that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little street scene, and this street scene is going to be pretty simple, pretty simple. And it's going to be in a city. It's in a city. It's a nice sunny day. I'm going to have a building here. Okay. This is how I play with ideas. I don't necessarily do a painting out of it. It could just be a sketch. But the idea that I have is just I'll talk myself through it and I'll tell myself an entire story. And my story will go into all sorts of things. So it's a sunny day in the middle of a city, but it's not a big modern city. And in this city, I can see that there's stuff, there's buildings, they're like it's like a village city. It's not like tall New York style skyscrapers or anything. And then maybe in the background, I've got some other buildings, maybe here. Maybe I'm actually going to be like in a European city where the it's more like very narrow. And so I've got this slither of a facade here. Maybe then it comes across here. Maybe there's a building over here in the background, with more buildings coming through here because it's a city. So there's buildings and buildings and buildings and buildings, stuff in front of other stuff. And then maybe I'm going to say, but if there's buildings, yeah, we need some windows. Let's throw some windows on. Okay, let's be loose about it because remember, we're taking what we had from the last 5 days. Loosen up your drawing to loosen up your painting. So don't be stiff. You don't need to measure them. You don't need to take a ruler. Just loosen up your painting, loosen up your drawings, talk about your idea and get your stuff organized in your mind, and loosen it up. Tell yourself a story. And so from here, maybe I'm going to have, I don't know, it's a street. So maybe I'm going to have some awnings. Maybe I'm going to have like it's a cafe or something under here. Okay. It's loose. Window, 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 window. Can't even hold my pen right because I can't get my hand in between my thing, but that's fine. That's what we want. We don't want something perfect. We want something loose because we're going to be using the information that we had the last few days. Maybe I'm going to put some people in. There's going to be people in here. I'm going to have loads of people. Not going to do cars. It's a street where we just walk. It's just pedestrian street. Maybe I'm going to have a road here. We could even have a crossing. We could even do a crossing. Do you want to do a crossing? Let's do a crossing. That's kind of fun doing a crossing. Just do 2 lines. Just do 2 lines. Find yourself a focal point. Find yourself a point. I'm going to put it here in the middle. And then your lines will just go to there. And you can use a ruler if you want. Just going to your point. I'll keep going. I'm going as if it's to my finger. And now I've got a pedestrian crossing. Cool. And I'm going to paint every second one. All right. That's going to animate it. All right. That's cool. There you go. There I've got my subject. Maybe there's another person here, a few more people here. That'll do. And so my idea is that it's summer. It's sunny. There's people in the city, or at least a big village, and they're moving around. And I'm going to have my light coming from the left so that I've got this big tall building which is lit up, and these are in the shadow, and this one very much in the shadow. And I'm going to have some shadows on the ground, and I'm going to have this pedestrian crossing. And my focal point, let's make it easy. Let's make it the big person that I've drawn in the foreground. And that's what I do. I sit there and I play with my idea. I be creative. I be loose with my drawing. I help myself develop my idea, and then I help myself understand my ideas. And then I help myself loosen my drawing so that my painting is loose. So I'm using my confidence in just doing a mess. I'm using my creativity to tell my own story. I'm not using a photo that I have to follow everything. Maybe I need a photo just to give myself a base, but that's fine. And then what I'm doing is that I'm going to start the painting. And I want this painting to be sunny and full of life and energy. So I'm going to go warm. I don't want to do a sky. I'm just going to ignore the sky. No sky. It's so sunny that the sky's almost white. And because I want us to go out of our comfort zone, mess it up. But don't mess it up completely with no idea. Now we're starting to bring in the idea of, okay, I need to have more understanding. I know where I'm going. I'm going to use a little bit more what I'm doing. So I'm messing it up, but remember I said I wanted it warm. So I'm choosing a warm color. I know that I want this darker. So that's where I'm putting the color. I'm going to break up my my technique so that I already have a base on my painting. And I don't have to sit there and say, oh, I've gone over the line. Loosen it up. Be a little bit bolder with that first line. And if it doesn't match, that's just fine. And you know what? I want to go even more yellow. I'm going to add some yellow here. And maybe I'm going to add some yellow down here that's sort of bouncing off the wall. My focal point's going to be down here. So yeah, let's add some more stuff there. All right. Maybe I'm going to say, you know what, I could kind of add at this point some sort of cooler color to push back some of these background shapes. So let's go and put them on. Let's get a bigger brush. Okay, so I'm using my forcing myself out of my comfort zone technique. I'm forcing myself to be looser, but I am keeping a little bit of an idea. All right, so I'm not losing it completely like the exercises I was giving you the last few days. I am trying to bring this a little bit to something that can work, but in a very, very loose way that I know actually will correspond to a subject that can work. So I'm going to push bits back by pulling cooler color in some of my shadows. Okay, and I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to slop that on, and that's going to be just fine. That's just fine. Everything's always just fine. It's painting. All right. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. So now I have a base. What I might do actually, because I do have this pedestrian crossing that I threw in, I'm going to already paint every second one. Every second one I will paint. All right. Bit of color on every second one. You can see it coming already. Every second one. Some of them you'll see, some of them you won't see. There we go. And then underneath. Okay, there we go. Little pedestrian crossing. That color will dry, so I'll be able to paint over it later if I decide that I want it to be not so white. But those shapes are already there. You see how easy that is? All right, cool. So I've thrown stuff on. I've been creative. I've been having fun. I'm using my own ideas. And now, remember, this is what we were doing, I think, yesterday. I want to try and pull this back and create something with it. I want to now try and create something that maybe I can turn it into a little painting, a little sketch, or a little whatever. All right, so let's go. But before I do that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my brush down. I'm going to stand back, and I'm just going to look at what I have, because from a distance, I'm going to have a better point of perspective to look at the entire sheet and to see overall what that big picture looks like. And I'll be, okay, so my idea was a focal point down here. That's definitely already attracting my eye. The cool color, yep, that's okay. I probably could have gone cooler all the way down there. Am I going to grab my brush and put it on straight away? No. I'm going to wait And I'm going to look and see if there's anything else that I can see that I can do that will help. So this blue, I could definitely add some up here. I think that would be a good idea because at the moment it's all sitting in this area. So I think it would be good to push some of the blue up there. Not going to worry about the fact that it's drying. I can get back to that later, no problem. I think it would be good to have some wet paint, some more dark value, not necessarily a dark value, but a mid to dark value in this area and this area, and probably even coming in here and down behind some of these people. I think that would be good. I kind of like the idea as well of the pedestrian crossing. I think I can go even darker around these shapes here. I could probably go a little bit darker, add some shadows underneath the roofs. So then what I do, now I'm going to remember. So I want to put some blue up here. So this blue, say same blue, goes higher. So I'm breaking this horizontal band, and that gives me a nice balance to that. Okay, I know I want to go a little bit darker down here, and my sun does come from the left, so I could even add some darker value all the way up this building and maybe even down the bottom of the buildings behind. And I think that darker value, it would be nice that it sort of came around here a little bit, and that would help just make this side of the painting a little bit different from that one. And I can make a point of looking at that pedestrian crossing. That could be interesting. So I've spent a little bit of time just looking at my sheet, just looking what I have. And so I can pick up the brush and I'll start again. So I'll do just what I said I'd do. I'm not going to do extra stuff. I'm going to do just what I said I will do. And then I'm going to check it again. So this is my blue. I said I wanted some blue up there. Okay, blue's not really the same color because there's a lot of brown up here. So I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and my ultramarine blue. And by adding a little bit of white, my blue will be more blue. And that way it will look more like this blue that I added down here. It is the same color. It's just that this has got a lot of brown underneath it. Okay, so that'll do. Okay, there I've got my blue coming up here. Cool. All right, so that's that. Okay, maybe I could even have a little bit in this building while I'm going up on that side. Let's just put a little bit here too. All right, so I also said that some dark values down here. All right, let's go darker values. Now, these are my colors, so let's just go darker, pretty much the same sort of thing. That's a little bit of blue. Maybe I want to put even a little bit of violet. All right, doesn't matter what violet you've got, just for the exercise, just use anything. A little bit of burnt sienna, and I've kind of got this smoky purpley color. And I'm going to put some of that into this area. Okay, that color looks all right to me, so I'm going to make a bit more. All right, tiny little bit of burnt sienna. All right, bit too much burnt sienna. Let's go a little bit more blue, a little bit more purple. All right, so let's just throw some of that down. Remember, we're being loose in what we're doing. We don't need to do something which is too perfect. Keep going. Just with what you're saying you're doing. So here, perhaps I'm going to put some darker color here. This is what I was saying. Darker down here. Okay. Don't just cover everything that you've done. Keep some of these light values. They're needed. And as I go up, I'm just going to soften these lines because they look a bit messy. There we go. All right, that'll do. Perfect, that'll do. All right, so what I want to do, remember I said I was going to put some darker value down here. Okay, let's go darker down here. And I said I wanted to make a bit more of the shape down here a little bit more visible, the pedestrian crossing, just for fun, because we're here to have fun. So let's just a few. You don't need to do too many of them. You don't need to do every single one of them. Just a little bit of that. And I said I needed a little bit of dark around some of these people. around the ground level, remember? That's all I said. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to put my brush down and I'm going to step back. And now I'm going to see what else do I need to do. And I can be, oh, you know what? I should have put that color here also underneath this area because it looks weird that it stops at the pedestrian line. So I'm going to need to continue that color across here a little bit. Okay. All right, so what else do I need to do? Maybe I need to start working the tops of my buildings so that I can see the roofs a little bit. I might let that dry. And then I definitely do need to do something because I can see that this facade has the same colors and values as this facade, which is the same as all the facades in the background, this one and this one. They're all pretty much looking the same. So I'm going to have to separate them a little bit. Okay. All right, let's do that. Let's do that. So this one I think is the most important one to do now because this is wet and then I'll go to the roofs. So I actually step back when I'm painting and I look at what needs to be done. I just don't paint for the sake of painting. I just will step back, look what needs to be done and then go back and do it. And then when I've done that bit, I'll go back and look at my painting and see what else needs to be done rather than just painting stroke after stroke with no idea of why I'm doing it and even if it's needed. So here I might continue a little bit more with this. All right, that's better. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so that I'll let dry a little bit because I need to separate the shapes. And to separate the shapes, I prefer that the paper was a little bit drier. So I'm now going to play with the rooftops. So here we go with the rooftops. We wanted a warm scenario, so let's do some warm. Remember those strokes we were doing when we were practicing our confidence and we were doing a mess on the paper? Those swift strokes is where this sort of thing now becomes comfortable. You just do a stroke, it's one line. You don't need to go back into it 5 times. It's just one stroke and then leave it alone. And even if it's not perfect, it's much better than if you go back over it. So don't go back over it. A little bit of a rooftop here, some rooftops here. Imagine some rooftops coming down here. All right. Again, don't need to be perfect about it. I just want to create the feeling of movement and of animation. So while this is drying, I'm going to maybe create some shadows. Let's put some shadows under here. So this is where my brain is working. I'm thinking of how am I going to do this? I've got to, this subject here, I need a bit more contrast there. This is where your baggage is going to come in. It's not just the creativity. It's not just the confidence. It's all 3 of them at once. But if you can stop yourself from overdoing stuff and you just quite literally paint your paintings for what's necessary, you're going to find that you're only painting what you need and all the overworking you stop. So let's do a little bit more. This is my shadow side here. All right, now you can see that separation. Now you can see that the roof is different to the facade and the facade is different to the building. We have to do that on this side, but this side first because it was a little bit drier. Okay, cool. All right, so any other facades that I have like that, I think I can find some. And if I can't find some, I'm just going to create them because I want to create a bit more depth in here. All right, just quick, throw it on. Doesn't have to look like anything down the bottom. We're not worrying about the bottom of the painting yet. Okay, we're just doing the top part, adding some little details, adding some little things. This whole bit we'll do later. I'm not worried about that bit. Now, this side and this side, this big facade should be darker than the little facade because the light is coming from the left. So I'm going to put the shadow on the big facade. Okay, so that's just pretty much like that. Okay, might even go a bit stronger, bit more color down the bottom, bit more color down the bottom. Cool. All right. Doesn't need to look good. It just needs to be pretty much enabling me to have one building that's different from the building next to it. There's a difference. I'm creating different values to create different buildings. Some are pushed back, some are closer. All right, that's obviously the next one. So let's do that one. All right, so obviously I need a bigger brush for that one. So I'm going to go to this brush that I've adopted now. This brush I had never used, and now I'm using it all the time. That's one of these things which is good when we start trying new things. We actually discover things that we don't normally do, brushes we don't normally use, paper we don't normally use, methods we don't normally use, and that's how we gain extra stuff. So now I wanted to go blue there, remember? Because I wanted this blue to sort of balance the blue down there. So that means I'm not going to just paint over it. I'm going to leave bits of this blue coming through, because otherwise there's no point having it there. And I think that blue is necessary. I think it's useful anyway. So I'm going to paint down here. I'm going to paint to make this little, like an awning, stand out. And I will throw some blue in there. Let's just make a mess of it. Making sure that this line, I can definitely see the difference in tonal value. And as I go up, I'm going to leave some holes. I'm not going to make it perfect. I'm going to leave some holes, and those holes, there we go, make that blue stand out. But maybe my tonal value, I want to go a bit darker, bit darker. Let's go a bit darker. All right, there we go. All right, that'll do. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my brush. I'm going to step back, and I'm going to be, you know what? This and this are probably too much the same. I think that maybe I could even make that one cooler to push it back. Lucky I stepped back to see that they're actually not working well together, because same color, same value, they look like they're on the same plane. Yet this building is further back. So that value I'll change. I definitely need to add some of this color that I just added, this darker value under here. And then I obviously need to add some detail, the people, darker values down here to make all of this a little bit more interesting. Plus, I need little details, windows, they can wait. But I think the most important thing is making sure that this goes backwards to give me that notion of space, and to darken these bits under here. All right, so now that I've seen that, I'm going to grab my brush, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm literally just going to do the things that I decided I needed. So I'm going to put some more white on my paper. So that's my gouache. Oops. There we go. Onto my palette, sorry. And I'm going to use that to add to my blue to push this building back. So a little bit of white, my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to lose a little bit this building. I'm going to need to paint over everything that I've done, but I'm going to just soften it a bit, push it back a little bit. Okay, perfect. That's enough. Then I said this needs to be darker and this needs to be darker. All right, so let's do that. So this bit here, so you're just doing problem solution. Huh? Oh, that needs to be done. Problem solution, problem solution. Don't just paint for painting's sake, because you'll overwork your painting. All right, so this bit down here, I need now to start to create some difference. Maybe there's an opening for the shop. Maybe there's an opening or a door closed, or there has to be something. It can't just be a flat wall. So I just need to create the idea, perhaps, that there's a door here, like an opening. Okay, that'll do. Maybe there's another one here. All right, that'll do. There we go. We've got those two. All right, maybe we've even got some stairs or something happening in here. Just a little bit of something. All right. I think I need some of that darker value here, because otherwise it's going to be a bit lopsided. So let's put a little bit of that same sort of dark shape. Not dark enough. That's not dark enough. We need to go darker than that. That's my ultramarine, a little bit of purple this time, and a little bit of Windsor green to make it dark. Mix that all together. And let's go a bit darker. Maybe here I'm going to leave some little touches as if they're the heads of people. I've got some people happening here. All right, don't need to do anything fancy. Just suggest that maybe there's the same sort of thing going on here, but I want you to look over here. So this is just going to be extremely basic. Okay, cool. All right. I think I better step back and have another look. All right. But actually, now that I see that, lucky I stepped back and had a look, I find that too cold for the rest of it. So I might throw in some warmer color here just to, because I find that color doesn't look good with this. All right. So, and then it's the details. So by constantly standing back, by constantly looking at what I have objectively, not saying, oh no, my painting looks awful, I can't paint. I'm literally just finding a problem, trying to find a solution to the problem. And I'm going to do that until the painting's done. And I'm just going to just keep painting. There's a little bit of shadow based on the idea that I have, and just doing what I need to do without hopefully without overworking it. So I think I need to go a little bit cooler and a little bit darker at some points in the city because it's dark in here. You can't see much, and it's going to help me to get these figures to stand out. These little heads of figures, little reflections, who knows what it is under here. Get some darker bits happening. Okay. Maybe a shadow coming across. Maybe I'm going to do another shadow down here. All right. And then maybe I'm going to need to stop again. So maybe I'll stop there because now I've got some details to do. I've got the figures to do. I've got some details, some windows. So what I might do is I'll take off a little bit of water so I don't get a watermark. And I put my brush down. And now I'm just going to check. And I'm like, you know what? I think it would be good if there's some light coming through here. Okay. I do think that this is not the right color, but I'm not going to take it off. I'm not going to cover it. I may do something with it to sort of change it. I may create a little distraction there or repeat that color somewhere, but I think I need a distraction here. I'm taking a mental note now of the things that I have to do for the next time I pick up my brush and I start painting. I think that now it would be a good time to start putting some smaller details in because that will help me see the subject a little bit more finished. So if I start putting those finishing touches in it, and then when that's done and I look at my painting again, then maybe I'm going to say, oh, you know what, it's finished. Because like that, without these finishing touches, it doesn't look finished. So rather than insist for all the different stuff, maybe I'll just try and finish the details and see what I think is needed, knowing that I definitely have a little distraction here that I have to do something about. All right. So let's change brushes and let's start going into smaller, I've got my little synthetic brushes to do these details. All right. Now I know my focal point is down here. This is where I want you to see. So whatever details I do up the top need to be a little bit more discreet. So I'm not going to choose a blue to do my windows. I'm just going to choose the color that I have, but a bit darker, a bit darker. And you know what? They're really sort of just suggested windows are. I don't need to make them look like they're perfect. They don't need to be perfect. It would be good if they're in the right line, like one's on top of the other one. That would help because that's just part of making sure the architecture is believable. But just sort of throw in some little details just so it doesn't look empty. And it's subtle, just subtle. So I know what I'm doing because remember, I've got that third characteristic. I have my experience, I have my capacity, I have my knowledge. So I know how to paint. Most people know how to paint today. Huh? What they do is that they stick too much to the subject. They don't know how to do stuff, or they're too scared to do stuff. So I'm going to put a little bit of shadow on my chimney coming across the building. I'm going to leave this bit for now, and I'm going to keep going with these little windows. I'm going to focus on finishing all these little windows, which are just lines. There's nothing very interesting about them. They're just to fill up the space, and in a discreet way, and sometimes in a more obvious way, depending on if I'm using them to bring your eye to my focal point or not. Okay. Okay, that'll do. Then I'll go to my bigger brush and to these over here. This is not very dark. Let me move all this stuff over here. I have to get my hand in. Okay, my one window. You can see how much effort I'm putting into them. Okay, suggested. I'm not going to put a whole heap of dark stuff because I just don't think that I need it. I can put some dry details on after, but you know what? I think that's probably enough. I can have some windows on this side. Okay, that for now, that's probably enough. So what I might do is I might put down my brush again, now that I've started to put details on, and maybe I need even finer dry details. For that, I'm going to have to wait. But I know I need some even smaller details. I know I need to go back and put this figure on. I still think that I need to do something with this wall. So now I'm getting more and more specific with what I have to do. And if I think, you know what, I need to go back in these windows, but the paper is wet, then just let it dry. Don't insist. If I want to go back and I want to do something, and it's better to do it now, then I'll do it now. If I don't know what I want to do, I'm not going to be driving down the motorway, the highway, and just keep driving, or just keep cooking my Christmas dinner without paying attention to what I'm doing, and then end up causing an accident, burning the lunch. I'm just going to pay attention to what I need and not just constantly get distracted with what I don't need, just because I'm in the moment and I want to do a painting, because then I'm just going to be frustrated with the result that I get. So it's not really a win-winner. Yeah, I'm having fun on painting, but if I destroy my painting, maybe I won't be happy after my painting. So probably not the best outcome. All right, so I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell you yet, but I know what I'm going to do down here. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'm going to add some chimneys. I'm going to add some antennas. I'm going to create some animation up here on the rooftops. I'm going to put a little bit of some darker value, probably on the legs. I think I'll keep her body lighter. She'll stand out more that way. And I'll put a little bit of a darker skirt, jeans, pants, whatever you want to put on him or her, whoever you have. Coming down here, probably a head could come in handy. Always good to have a head. It makes life easier. Probably put some other little dark heads on. Some will be darker, some will be lighter. And now I'm just literally going to put some smaller detail, drier detail, even though it's not as dry as I would like it to be, just to finish it, just to give a little bit of accent, a little bit of detail in some areas that's stronger than in the others, particularly down here. And for my little sketch, you know what? That's probably going to be enough. That's probably going to be just fine. For this little thing, I'm going to actually put some red in there. I'm going to put a little bit of red, not just in this area, but maybe I'm going to do a person here that's red. Maybe I'm going to put a couple of red spots here, and I'm creating a distraction. So now you're not looking at the dark, you're looking at the red, which you can see better, obviously, in the, there you go, I even put one white one. And then you're not going to be looking at the dark value anymore. And I'll even go brighter. No, not that one. Let's go brighter again with the orange down the bottom. Now I'm playing. Not necessarily necessary, but I'm playing, and I know it's an exercise. So I'm not going to stop myself from playing and testing new things. I'm going to say, you know what? I think this could be a good idea. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. Just play with your paintings. And then maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't, maybe you'll learn something. And if you don't, I would imagine you'd at least have fun doing it. But you're breaking the comfort zone. All right, one or two more people, and then I'll stop. So I'm going to do some Winsor blue. Get some Winsor blue happening, and I need some white. So Winsor blue and white, and I'll put some little blue people, because you always have people dressed in blue, and that will just add a little bit of character, because there's a little bit more color. You can add some flags if you feel like being patriotic. You can add some cables. You can add all different stuff if you like. So what I've got is, it's not a masterpiece. It's just a little sketch, if you can see it. It's very simple. Turn the lights down a bit. And you can see that it's very, very, very loose. It's just a whole heap of little dabs of color, but it creates a scene that sort of ties together. And what did I do? I quite simply focused on, the color is actually a lot warmer. That looks a bit better. It's actually a lot warmer than what you see. That's better. I just played with my spontaneity. I just played with doing just what I think is needed. So I see what I need, I step back, I take my time to see what I think is needed. And then after I think, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that, I need to do a few different things, then I will take my brush and I'll do them and just them. And then I'll put my brush down, and then I'll come back, and then I'll do something else. And if I do that all the way through the process, that I probably will do several things. I will probably, one, not overwork my painting. Two, just not paint for no reason. Three, I will train myself to step back. I will train myself to stop painting. I will train myself to just paint what is needed when it is needed. And so I'm developing new techniques. I'm developing the fact that I'm becoming a little bit more focused on just what is needed, because I'm observing and painting at the same time. I'm being those two people at once. And even if it's just an exercise, all that learning becomes part of your first characteristic, your baggage, your capacity. It becomes part of then the way you do it. And because it's hard to do that, because when we're in the motion, when we're in that movement, that momentum, we forget. So put your alarm on and make that a little alarm clock just be 1 minute, and it rings every minute. And so you can paint for a minute, put your brush down, and wait an entire minute. And then you sit there, you look at it, you think, wow, what can I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then when it rings again, go back. It's just training you to be okay from stepping back, because in watercolor, we always think, no, we have to do it now. You don't need to. There's no pressure. There's no stress. So let yourself stand back. Take the time to look. Don't just find one problem. Try and find 3 or 4. And then when you pick up your brush, you just fix those 3 or 4. Then you put your brush down, you step back again. Is there anything else? And if your question is there anything else, and you can't find something, then you go walk the dog. You go make a cup of tea. You go do something else. Because why would you continue to go back over it if there is nothing wrong with it, if there is nothing left to do? Get another piece of paper if you like. But don't just paint because we're in the movement. We want to keep painting. Change paper. So it's easily, I think, understood. I think it's easy to say, and it's not easy to do. And I'm not telling you that it is, because it's a big habit to break. And that's why you really do need to do it if you want, if this is an issue that you have. as a form of exercise, that you focus on it as if it's an exercise, but you're not painting to get a good painting. You're training yourself to stand back and don't go back in. You're training yourself to stop. You're training yourself to look, and you're training yourself to just fix the problem that you see and not just paint other stuff. That's the bit that this exercise targets. It doesn't affect the sheet. It affects your behavior in painting. All right. So remember which part, what the goal of that exercise is. It's to change your method from painting, 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 and oh no, the potatoes have burnt. I didn't look over there. And I was so busy driving down the freeway that I passed the exit sign because I'm not paying attention. Now I've gone too far. I've overworked my painting. Okay. I think it's easy to understand, but I also know that, oh, habits are habits. And there's this, I just want to do this, that we have to break. And so you're training you're changing your behavior. And that's a big one. All right. So that was my idea for today, to sort of bring in the confidence, the playing, the focusing on the exercise, to find a problem, create a solution, work on it to improve. Is there any questions? Do you have any questions? Whether it be about what we've just done, whether it be about anything else. This is our last little 5-day session. So if you have any questions, use it. Although I will do another one. I think I'll try and do one every Wednesday. I'll see if that works into my schedule, but I'll try and do one every Wednesday because I think it's extremely useful. I think it can be beneficial for everybody. So any questions? Any remarks? Anything that you want to add? You all look like you're, I hope it's not that you're hungover since last night's New Year's Eve. But is it understandable? Does it seem like it's possible, yeah, to change this method? What do you think, Elaine?
I just think this has been so valuable, so valuable. And really, it's a great way to start the new year.
Oh,
Thank you.
isn't it? And just wait until you see what else we're doing. I've got so much stuff organized for this year. It's not hard to paint. Painting's not hard. It's usually our habits and the things that we do that make what we do not work as well as what it could do. And they're the things that I've been trying to say for ages, whether it be on the Monday lives, whether it be in the exhibition course. It's what we do and the way that we do it that often makes our own stuff not work so well. So yeah, I think it's extremely valuable. And this morning in the French live, we did something different. I don't even know where it is. We did something different. So if you feel like watching the French video, just turn the sound off. You'll see a different demonstration. I can't even remember what we did. It was only 3 hours ago or something. But the goal is to improve your paintings, improve your results, be a happier artist, and then you influence other people. You inspire other people. And I think that the artists are the dominoes in society where we can uplift people, inspire people, make people feel good, make them do something that they didn't think they could do. And I think that we can make such a huge difference. And that's what my goal is. That's what my goal is. Because I think 2026 is a perfect year to do it. Anybody want to say something else? Phil.
Yeah, just thanks a bunch. It's been very, very helpful, I think, by the sound of it, to lots of us. Excuse me. And I think it's opening more questions within ourselves, which is more important than anyone just giving you the solution. Because, I think in life there's no such thing as the truth. It's our own truth. And if we start to look, and for me, certainly to step back has been that important thing. I'm very guilty in painting of being a bit impetuous and just diving in, thinking, got to get it finished before it dries. And that's been fatal for me, I think, in lots of ways. It led to a lot of overworking. And yes, so thank you.
You're welcome. But if it dries, it's not a problem, huh?
Well, you said this, use the sprayers and so on, but somehow I forget to use them. So,
Or just let it dry.
or just let it dry. Yeah.
Mm. Just let it dry and then just step back and then just see what needs to be done. There's so many times that we think there's a problem, and watercolor does have a characteristic which is difficult sometimes to manage. And that's that when the colors are wet, they look very different to when they're dry. And so sometimes we put something on the paper and it looks really dark, or the color's really strong. And so we think, oh, that's too dark. I have to go back and I have to take it off, or I have to do something about it. And if we have, that's one of these things in this baggage and this knowledge, if we have the understanding that at least 20% of the tonal value will disappear on dry as it dries, and the color will be less, probably close to 50% less strong, then you sit back and you say, if that reduces 25% and the color 50%, actually it's not going to be a problem. You know what? It's not going to be a problem. And a lot of the time is that we are too reactive because we don't counter that quality back into our paintings, that they're going to dry differently. So sometimes if you don't know, then just leave it and then you'll figure it out after. But don't go in to take it off, because the majority of the time when you change the color, then you look at your painting when it's dry and you say, oh, it's not dark enough.
Yeah, I do a bit of that.
We all do. Don't worry. We all do. Yeah.
And as you say, it's down to reinforcing that toolbox that we have. That, for some of us using gouache for the first time, perhaps knowing you've got these opaque, bright colours to use, or more opaque, bright colours to use. So yeah, adding to and yeah, thinking time, feeling time, not panic time, rushing time. Yeah, learned a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a game. It's just a game. And so,
In a game.
yeah, but it's a game. And the game is partially up here, partially on the paper, partially here. And then you just kind of wing it with an idea and see what it looks like. And you adapt it with enough experience and knowledge. I'm not saying it's just easy and anyone can do it. You do need some experience. And the more we learn, the more we try stuff, the more our library of knowledge expands. And then the less we're actually fearing what we're doing. But if the painting dries, if we make a mistake, there is no problem. We just have to learn how to adapt to it. And that's the direction that I'm going in on the Mondays, because the knowledge is something which is vital. The confidence and the creativity is vital. But then what do you do when you want to finish the painting? You want to adapt it. You've got to correct it. You've got to get that level in as well, so that, just like I said before, you don't want to just stop your painting because you don't know what to do with it, or you don't dare go back into it. How can you then judge your paintings to make sure you can finish them as well as you can? And if we get that last bit in as well, then there's no fear to start it. There's no fear as we're painting it. Yeah, we let it dry. I'm going to give it a break. I can't see anything. You take distance from what you're doing. Use your telephone to stop you from overworking it. And then we learn how to finish a painting with more objectivity. I would say that I would come close to, 70% of paintings would be improved just by a few little things. And from all of that, we didn't improve your technique. We didn't improve your drawing capacity. We didn't improve anything else than just having more distance, taking more risks, and something that you're leading to, Phil, thinking for ourselves, using our own ideas, coming back to us rather than constantly looking to what someone else does, because that's the biggest hurdle that I think we're breaking. I think we're going to move away from it. But the more we're focusing on what we're doing here, I mean, there's no way that you even need to look at a model because you're just playing with your own painting. You don't need to look at what someone else does. And then you start to develop your own personality through your paintings. And I think that's so important. Mm. Susan.
Thank you. I think you have been giving us really useful tools to be authentic and to be the one who is driving the car, not sitting beside. And that is extremely valuable. So I will definitely try these different tools, the different practices that you have taught us. I think it will be very valuable for me. I think that when it's coming to paintings, the last one also depend on how you paint big paintings, because I can directly see that I cannot see all these kind of things after 1 minute, because I still going to letting the water flow in different directions. So but to try it on sketches and to get into the habit, to analyze, not only step back, but to get these questions. I think the questions you had to look for different things is very, very useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you. All right. So anybody else want to add something or ask something? Okay. So I think what I'll do, in the I do have a French group that I do in the morning for those that don't know, and then I do an English version, which is different, in the afternoon. And so from their feedback of what we were doing, there were also some other questions that I think that some of them, I'll give you a couple. Phil, I asked their idea of having a drawing day where we just focus on all those different drawing things. And obviously that was something that they also said would be a good idea. So I've added that to the list. I've added to the list as well another question, which I hadn't thought of, but it's really important. It's for those people that teach or that want to teach and are trying to balance their teaching with their painting, because that's actually an issue for a lot of people. They either teach too much and then that hinders their painting, or they paint too much and they need an extra income because maybe they're not selling. So that's another one. There was a few different ideas. So what I suggest, because I'll try and do this every Wednesday. If you come, you come. If you can't, you watch them afterwards. If you have a question, if you have a something that you think is of importance, a question that you have, add it into the comments under the YouTube videos in YouTube. You'll see in YouTube you have comments. You can add a comment there, and I'll use those comments for the next little lives that I do. Because I think once we expand the conversation, once we expand all this sort of stuff, like you say, it makes us think differently. And I think that that's going to impact the way that we paint a lot. Natalia, did you want to add something?
No, I just actually wanted to tell that I'm not a professional artist. I'm working. I'm still working. I see this drawing this like an exercise but when I want to paint something for exhibition, I don't see it. It all depends on the temperature, on humidity of your environment. If I stop for 1 minute during heating season, it all hard ages.
Yeah, it can do. It's like in Australia when it's really hot, you have to paint a little bit differently. And that was a question that I had on one of the first days. Somebody who was having problem keeping the washers wet enough, long enough, but you don't need to. But if you wanted to, there are things that we can do. Yeah, that's another issue that I know that some people have. Also, handling water and paper, and sometimes it dries too fast, sometimes it doesn't dry fast enough. And then the fact that things are changing as the paint dries. Yeah, I can sort of mix all of those things into one session. Yeah, because there are loads of things that you can do, but one of the things is just the fact that I put a towel under my painting. And my towel is dry. My towel is not wet. It's not to keep the paper wet. My paper is dry when I start. The towel is dry, but as the paper gets wet, the towel will actually hold more of the humidity. It will actually make the paper stay wet longer. There's less air that passes underneath it. It stays wet longer. It's actually one of those elements that actually helps me paint for hours and hours, even though the towel is dry. If you wanted to paint longer because you are in a country, or maybe you even just have heating so high because it's freezing outside that you want to paint longer, wet the towel. Wet the towel, and then water will go in through the back side of the paper, which means that you can actually work longer on the top. And because you did not wet the top of the paper, you can have hard edges when you want them. You can do bigger washes, but they will dry slower. So you can use the towel as a buffer almost to create more humidity or less humidity as you paint.
What kind of towel you use? Is it just ordinary towel, or it's this how to say, synthetic fiber?
No, no, no,
No.
no. I say that because the towel that I use, I have to show you because otherwise you won't believe me. This towel, I have no idea how old it is. I would say that we're going on maybe 100 years old, because it is a towel that came from my ex-husband's great-grandmother's house. And so as you can see, it's loved. It's very loved.
Yeah.
It was a white towel. It was
Yeah.
a white towel. But what's the most important thing about it is it's a towel which is different to the towels that we have today. Today the towels have very long loops. They have you even this one that I have on my oh, you can't see it. I have another one here. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it tiny
Yeah,
little.
I can.
Yeah, this is a new towel, and the cotton loops are long. This is really flat. There's no long loops in it, so it absorbs better. And it's so old. So I would say dig out all of the old towels. I mean, it was whiter. It was a white towel. Dig out the old towels because I think that they're better. I do not like to paint with new towels because it doesn't work the same way. And then this basically, I think it's been washed once, but I think I'll break my washing machine if I try to wash it. I think then all my clothes will come out with paint on them for like 5 washes after. There's so much paint in here. But yeah, it's virtually flat. There's almost no texture to it. So I think personally, from just my playing with it, older towels are better. So go to a brocante, go to grandma's house, any old towels that no one's using, I think are better. Even if you have to find the towels that people put on the floor when you get out of the shower, that's a different kind of toweling, and that's better than the bath towels.
Thank you.
There we go. Who would have thought that towels had such an importance in watercolor? Nah. All right. So listen, it's been fun. It has been a pleasure. I am happy to have spent these last actually 5 or 6 days with you for those that were there on Monday. And it was fun to be able to talk about things that sometimes go outside of just painting, because there's so much around painting than just stuff that you put on water and paint that you put on paper. So it was fun to talk about it. So listen, I hope you all have a wonderful 2026. I think it is an amazing year. Take your personality, take your courage, take your ideas and have confidence in them and go and inspire everybody. And then that will have an amazing effect on everybody. So use your painting, inspire people, make them smile, and we're going to have a wonderful 2026. So I shall say, for those of you that I see next Monday, which I think is the 5th, I'll see you on Monday. Otherwise, have a very lovely end of New Year's Day. Happy painting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.